Good afternoon. Wow, it's been a while, and I'm quite busy here in this location, which is 7B, and I'm looking over some of my fig trees for the first time actually this spring. And I wanted to go over something with you. I made a mistake last fall, and I'm going to show you what the results of that mistake are. But first, I'm looking at this Asiatic tree, and I'm happy to see that, again, uncharacteristic of Asiatic trees, this one produces quite a few breba, and this is one that I've spoken to you about in the past, my uncles from the Valley San Juan, and there are videos about this tree. It's one of my favorite trees of all the trees I've ever had. The taste of this particular Asiatic is just nothing short of absolutely spectacular. Very good, wonderful tree, and very productive with breba and a very big main crop as well, and a deep crimson red, and like other Asiatics, and very, very sweet and flavorful, though. A very rich flavor. Again, it's one of my very favorite figs in my collection. I've had this one for a very, very long time. And going back to my teenage years when I was in high school, pre-1970. Okay, to give you an idea how long it's been. And this tree, you see how it's all broken up in the front here. Usually the deer get to this tree. This is my Celeste. I always like to say that the Celeste is one of the best. And it is a wonderful tree, especially in this zone. Well, every zone, my 7A zone too. But the reason why this is broken up in the front is going to be the main reason why I'm making this video, showing the mistake I made by leaving nets to protect my figs from the birds, by leaving nets on some of my trees last year, because I thought, in the fall, because I thought I was going to return to remove them, and I didn't. So it was a bad idea, and I should have removed the nets. And so what happened was, a lot of these branches, these shoots just went right through the net, and I had to remove the net painstakingly with a scissors and a knife. And, oh my God, it took a long time, and I still did a lot of damage to the tree. It's not going to hurt in a big way. This Celeste tree will be very productive. It's only a couple years old, this tree, and it's very vigorous. There's a lot of nematodes in the south and in sandy soils, and which I never recommend growing figs in any kind of sandy soils, and never add it to your mix either. I've mentioned that in some of my other videos in the past, because sand is very conducive to attracting the multiplication of nematodes. They would just multiply and become really dangerous they're injurious. Injurious to the point of actually almost killing off the tree, and there's no cure, and so eventually you have to discard the tree entirely. You can use some home remedies and some commercial remedies on the market to try and stave back the progress of the nematodes, but ultimately they win the battle. And Celeste is one of the best for fighting nematodes. It's very resistant, along with a few others, Desert King that I found, and also Peter's Honey seems to be very resilient. This tree's been here a long time, and I've featured it before. It's a very big tree now. It's got to be cut back again. Very healthy and very productive. And there's a lot of breba on Peter's Honey, which I've mentioned before. And this one's got quite a few, and so I'm looking really forward to the exquisite taste of these breba, the first crop figs on last year's wood. And again, Peter's Honey's very, very productive in that regard, and they're just a delicious, absolutely delicious fig, and it makes hundreds of main crop figs, which you've seen in my videos and I've talked about. But again, back to the nematodes, it's very resistant to nematodes. So let me get back. Here you see where I left a net also, and I haven't cut this one away, but this one's, I cut some of it away last year, and in the fall I did cut some of it away. So this tree is going to be okay. It's going to be mainly impervious to any detriment from my neglect due to the net. I'll be able to cut away the remainder of that net and successfully, but most of the big branches up there were net free in the spring, and so I've done little damage to this tree. And some of my other trees that I didn't leave any nets, of course, they're undamaged by it. But I'm going to put you on hold for just a little second, and we'll go over and I'll show you what's happened to some of my trees. This is a Ronde Bordeaux, and you can see it's all broken up pretty bad. And I had a net on it, and you can see all the leaves in the net, and I tried my best, but I broke off branches and I've done some damage to this tree. But it's a Ronde Bordeaux, and it'll come back. And I've got plenty in my collection, both in New Jersey and 7A and here at 7B. Still, I wish I hadn't neglected to take off that net. Again, I thought I was going to return one more time, and I didn't. All right, back to the main subject of the net. And again, you can see the damage that I did here to the tree, to this tree. This one wasn't netted, and it's doing marvelously. A beautiful fig tree, large, full of figs. Some nice brebo on here. This is XL, Iracondits XL. I featured it before. Delicious brebo. Different characteristically, a bit different than Peter's honey, and so is the main crop, but very delectable. A very healthy tree. I need to cut it back. I'm going to be cutting it back, and here's Hardy Chicago, the original Hardy Chicago from long ago. Not my favorite of the Mount Etnas, but this one sure has been a producer for, oh God, 3 decades. It's a great tree, produces an enormous abundance of fruit. I should never complain about it. And when they're perfectly ripe, they certainly are delectable. And they make a great preserves. They make fig preserves, and you can get plenty of figs to do that with. So I shouldn't complain so much about my Hardy Chicago. But it's not my favorite, again, not my absolute favorite among the Mount Etnas. This is a Ronde Bordeaux that didn't do well last year. I think the Ronde Bordeaux are susceptible to nematodes. I've cut it back. It's coming back. We'll just have to wait and see. Not every endeavor in the fig world as a grower is successful. We figsters, we do the very best that we can, but it's often left to the discretion of nature as far as what will determine the outcome and future of any fruit tree. We do what we can. We try to facilitate success, but we can't guarantee it. And here's another variety. This is a variety that I've spoken to you about, which has an abundance of brebo. Okay, it's very much like the Desert King. I'm not going to go into it, but I have videos on this. So you can see it's just doing well. It's the new growth. I should have put in the date today. It's only May the 13th or something like that. And already there's a good amount of brebo on this tree. Let's see. There we go. And they're all over the place. And they're delectable brebo too. Let's move on here. This is Smith. And it's doing okay. I see the deer have been chewing away at it. It didn't have a net on it. The deer have been chewing away at some of the shoots I can see. But it's doing well, and it wintered nicely in 7B, sorry. Another Celeste tree. And the deer have been nibbling. The deer, this did not have a net on it. But the deer have been able to reach up to here, and so you can see some damage from the deer. We have a deer problem here. But the trees managed to survive and still produce a tremendous amount of fruit, notwithstanding the often attacks of deer, hungry deer, looking for tender shoots, and they seem to like fig shoots particularly well. This is Desert King, which I featured in the past, and this too has quite a few breva on it, and not as many as last year or the year before, but there's more than I'll be able to gobble up. There's plenty on it here. You can see it all over the place. There's nice breva. These are delicious breva, worthy of more than one mention. I love this tree. I've sang its praises many times, and you can see up there, you can see the abundance of breva on this tree, and so it's going to produce quite a bit of fruit, I'm happy to say. And another Asian, oh, here we go. Now here we are. I've been trying to get this one free of the net, and I put some time into this, and still I've broken this tree up. You can see some of the net that I've had to cut away, and you can see all the leaves from the fig tree in the net, and little branches that I had to break off because foolishly, I thought I might return one last time, and I didn't. And so I've paid the price. It was quite stupid, really, and neglectful. I even knew when I left in a hurry. There was a reason I had to get back, and I just said, well, I'm going to come back, so I'll remove the nets in the future. I'll get those last few nets that I didn't remove from my trees. I'll get them when I could return, but I never returned. And so this is an Asiatic, and it's taking a beating, and it's one of my favorites, the JH Asiatic. It's a good tree. It's not going to be, in a major way, it's not going to be unproductive, I don't think, because of this. I think it will produce, but I have to be really careful now with the rest of this net. It's not easy to get this off because I don't want to break any more branches. I've broken enough. I've done enough damage to this thing. So it's never a good idea to procrastinate things. They say don't procrastinate. Never leave until tomorrow what can be done today. And I generally believe very much in that philosophy, generally, and I apply it regularly, but in this instance I did not. And so I'm happily showing you the results of my very bad decision making. It bothers me because this tree would be just so pretty. It would just be so nice and so productive. So I think it'll be okay. I'll do some pruning when I'm finished with it to direct more of the energy to the terminal buds, and so that we can get a nice crop. And I'll be more careful in the future not to repeat the mistakes. Here's another tree that I did. I made a big mistake. And look at this one. I'm halfway through removing this net, and look at the damage. I mean, this one was terrible because it had so many shoots that were shooting through the net. Look at all the dead leaves and broken branches in this thing. It's horrific. So I'm trying my best. It's not easy. Believe me, when those branches grow through these nets, I mean, it's very hard. And you can spend a lot of time and still do a lot of damage. Look at all that damage. But this is Taro unknown. which I featured last year, and it produced very nice figs, very delicious figs. Oh, I was very pleased with it. And it's been here several years, about 3 years, and every year it's produced figs, and more last year, an abundance. And I was really looking forward to it this year because I really like this fig. I like this variety. It does well along the coast in this weather environment, in this zone. And I've always been pleased with this variety, even in pots and growing in containers and in the ground back in New Jersey in 7A. It does very, very splendidly well in 7B here. It produces very magnificently, and it will again. But I've done some damage to it. I've broken off a lot of tops, so you know, the ones that do produce are going to produce bigger, better fruit. But I'm a little concerned that this crop might be a little later. I'm going to try and preserve a few more of these branches. Some of them will, I think, fruit fairly well. And, well, it is what it is, and it will be affected. This particular tree will be affected. Some of them I've gotten off. I've got to get a few. This particular branch here will be unaffected, and I'll have some nice figs, some main crop figs. I don't see any breba at all. This tree it's not conducive to producing breba. Generally, it does produce some, but this year I don't see any. So it's not that it's opposite of a characteristic of this particular tree that I've observed in the past. I've never ever remembered a lot of breba, and they would have certainly been all destroyed. They would have been destroyed with this net debacle that I've gotten myself into. But I'll get the rest of these off today and free this tree of the net, and hopefully it'll be okay, and next year it will be fabulous and terrific. So I'm going to make this video short. This is one of my few videos this year, but it's the first real true spring video featuring my fig trees, my beautiful fig trees, and I love my fig trees. Love them. And I'll be making more, of course, and making progress reports as I go. This is Italian honey. It's one of my favorite in-ground trees, and this particular one is so sweet and delicious. It's the best I've ever tasted of the Italian honeys, and I'm just so happy that I have it in the yard, and I grew it strong and tall and healthy, and I was able to keep the deer away from it, and now it's really coming into its own. Last year it made some delicious figs. They were just really good. Some of them, honestly, I have to say, they actually rivaled my Peter's honey. Not surpassed them, but they were nearly as good. That's how good they were. They were really good. I love this tree. This tree goes back many decades in my family, and I've been able to keep it and preserve the genes of this particular cultivar all of these years. And I'm so glad I was able to do so, because it's just spectacular. It's just a splendid version. It's a splendid version of that particular variety. The Latarula, the Italian honey fig, is just a wonderful representation of that genetic marvel. And I'm really pleased with it. So I'm looking forward to the figs this year. I'm going to gobble them all down, and it's going to make plenty. And next year more, and the year after even more than that. And so I have so many good things to look forward to. Here's another Celeste tree, a special Celeste tree. I can't really get into it, but you can see there was a net on it, and look how damaged it is. I beat it up pretty bad. So it'll be okay. It's Celeste, and Celeste is one of the best. It will be vigorous. It will produce. And I've got quite a few Celeste trees here and also in the ground in my New Jersey location. So I won't be without any Celeste figs ever, I hope. And there are plenty of trees, native trees to the island here. which I've filmed for you and made videos of in the past, and so I'm able to pick them as well. And there's always an abundance during the Celeste harvest. There's always an abundance of Celeste figs to make delicious preserves with and to eat fresh from the branch. And so all of those videos will be forthcoming. So with that, I think I'll close out this particular video. I'm very excited about this year's harvest in New Jersey, and I'll be making a video shortly to bring you up to date on that collection of figs in ground. But in New Jersey, I have a tremendous abundance of healthy trees that are going to produce huge volumes of delicious fruit. And I will record every step of the way for you. They all weathered the winter perfectly well. There's no damage. None of them were wrapped again. So this is like 3 or 4 years in a row with the mild winters that we've had. I've gotten away with it and didn't have to pay the price, as I have had to do in the past quite a few times when I've lost my trees from a harsh winter all the way down to the ground, sometimes even when they were very carefully wrapped. And I've been wrapping my trees for decades and decades, and usually it's successful, but there's always a cold winter when there's even a lot of damage under the wrappings. But lately I haven't wrapped the trees. And I'm happy to report that there's no damage to my trees, and they're all doing very, very well. And I'm looking forward to a huge harvest this summer. Oh, what do you have to say up there? Okay, whatever you say. I'm listening. All right, well, with that, thank you for your visit. Thank you for your subscriptions. I appreciate them. It lets me realize that I am still being watched, and hopefully that you guys out there are still learning some things, or I have a few pointers that are of value to you. And as long as I still do, I'll keep making the videos. Please look at my older videos that I've posted. I try not to post too many videos because I have a lot of, I think, pretty informative videos under my belt already, and I would just love for you to go back and look at the titles and watch them. And thank you when you do, because again, it's direct feedback to me, and it encourages me to make new videos and more videos and stay active, which I do plan to do. I have a lot of things still that I want to reveal to you, and I want to continue the camaraderie that I've been able to develop with all of you out there. And I love the fellowship, and I like to call all my subscribers and all my viewers figsters, fellow figsters. I like that. You know, it's sort of like gangsters, but in a good way. Figsters just love their hobby, and they go about their business. You know, they go about conducting their business with regards to growing figs. I like to grow them organically whenever I can, and other produce. And so we're all in a fellowship together, and we don't cause any harm like real gangsters do, because we don't traffic in the sort of things that regular gangsters traffic in, which are often against the law and harmful to others. What we do is healthy to ourselves. It's healthy for everyone, and we spread around the good word and the good karma, and we exchange knowledge, and we share everything that we know with one another. It's a community. It's a very, very wonderful feeling to get some of the feedback from you, and I like the dialogue. I like the comments. I certainly enjoy knowing that I'm growing in my subscriptions and have more and more subscribers all the time. I appreciate that. And again, as long as that is the case, I'm going to continue wherever I can to make videos about some of the things that I've learned during my lifetime, and not only growing figs, but in growing other produce and applying my organic methods and other nutrients and fertilizers that I apply, and some of the methods that I use to try and get good results on all of the things that I grow. And so I'm looking forward to this summer very much. I have a few things, I have some messages I want to get out there to you, and some new ideas too that I've been formulating in recent years and over the past winter, which I'm going to apply soon to my gardening. Thank you very much. Good day.